Hi there. Welcome back to good news about the world falling apart. My heavens, you just got to smile, right? As Wavy Gravy says, if you can't laugh, it's just not funny. And of course, it's not funny. It's terrifying, it's painful, it's tragic, it's criminal. I get that. I'm not trying to make light of a really dire set of circumstances. But we are at the beginning of the sixth mass extinction, and mass extinctions do not fool around. Again, we got all worked up about COVID and what really was the mortality rate of COVID. 1% at the max? In mass extinction events, you talk about 75% mortality of species, of entire species. Crazy, terrifying, beyond our comprehension. But we're engineering it. It's on. And we don't know if it's going to go to 75%. That remains to be seen. But what's interesting to me is the flip side of a mass extinction, which just sounds so bad and so final and so, a must to avoid. The flip side is paradigm shift. Something shifted in the fundamental nature of reality that required a completely different way of doing things. And the extinctions are of the species that could not make the shift. So there's a motivator for you. I don't really feel like getting into a paradigm shift today. I like things the way they are. I like streaming my shows and I like percolating my coffee, etc. But the road behind us in those 5 mass extinctions is strewn with 75% extinction rates. 3/4 of all species living at the given moment stopped existing because they couldn't make the paradigm shift. The creatures that couldn't shift from getting oxygen out of water to getting oxygen out of air. The animals that couldn't reduce their intake to very, very small, accompanied by self-regulating temperature, so you don't mind the frost as much, low appetites, and a deep, deep in the genes, in the bones commitment to caring for your young. No man left behind. That's the mammalian code. We bring our young along. They may be helpless, they may be a burden, they make terrible noises, right? But we are committed. We'll often die in order to save them. When you have that kind of investment, your survival rate goes way up. And again, of course, learning to work with fire, that put a stop to the high rate of big cat deaths. And likewise, learning to germinate seeds. You didn't have to starve when hunting gathering didn't work out. You could grow much more food and feed many more people on a much smaller piece of land and free a lot of people up to specialize in different activities that contributed to the evolution of the group, if not the whole species. And what's interesting to me is there's something cross-referential about these paradigm shifts. In other words, the basic shift of Tiktaalik, which was creating a new relationship to the breath, is also going to be crucial to the third turning. Reacquainting ourselves with our relationship to the breath. Now, the breath isn't making the shift from getting oxygen out of water to getting oxygen out of air. It's the shift to recognizing that what we get from spirit is way more precious than what we get out of solid materials. So I want to really focus on that. The breath, to my mind, is the key to the third turning. It's really as simple as that. And it comes back to an exercise I do with my students. I have them all write down the 3 things that are most important to them. And I invite you to do it as well. Write down the 3 things that are most important, most precious, most non-negotiable, maybe even things you'd be willing to die for. So write them down. Write them down. Those are the most precious things in your life. And now for something completely different. We're going to do something totally different. We're going to have a little competition. And the first prize will be a Hershey bar, okay? And the competition is to see who in the classroom can hold their breath the longest. And you're welcome to do this as well, but I'm afraid I can't give you a Hershey bar. So they're doing that. And the hands go up as people take breaths. And finally, there's a couple of people that can go a little ways past a minute. And we decide who gets the chocolate bar. And then I say, right before you took that breath, in the second before you took the breath, what was most precious to you? We're talking about a finger snap paradigm shift, finger snap reframe. Right before you took that breath, what was most precious to you? Air. The next breath, right? You got a deeper understanding of what's precious. And it's air. It's like so obvious. It's so obvious we can't even see it because we're surrounded by it. And it fills up most of the spaces in our body. We're far more air in our body than we are substance. Air, oxygen, more precious than anything else. More precious than love, than gold, than money, than power, than guns, than anything. And get this, and this is really good news. How much does it cost? Are you planning for your oxygen retirement account? What are you going to do for air after you retire? It's ridiculous, right? We worry like crazy. Am I going to have enough to retire on? Am I going to have enough to pay my bills at the end of the week? Am I going to have enough to go on that vacation? But we're never worrying about having enough of what is more precious to us than any of those things. What is more precious to you than anything else is completely free and is unlimited. In fact, the only force, entity, person who controls how much air you get, who controls how much of the most precious thing in your life you can obtain, is you, by the way you breathe. And most people aren't breathing very consciously.